Welcome back to the VC3 News Update, first in our local news stories. Speaking on WFM's Issues at Hand program recently, Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, the Honorable Camilla Gonsalves, said his ministry has far exceeded their wildest expectations about enthusiasm for Prime, the amount of grants already issued and the number of grants projected to be delivered by the end of the year for the program.
Remember that this is a program we started, was announced in the budget formally, although I've been talking about it before. Was formally announced in the budget in February. And at the time we were talking about essentially a $2 million program for people under the age of 40, entrepreneurs, owners of small businesses and the like. And when we got caught in the throes of the COVID pandemic, the Honorable Prime Minister thought it would be a good idea to supplement the Prime program with support for people over the age of 40 and also additional monies, because as we know, in the middle of Prime, a lot of businesses around the country either slowed down or closed down or laid off some staff and certainly stopped hiring. So there was going to be a need to encourage that entrepreneurial spirit even more in the time of the pandemic. So what started as a $2 million program grew very quickly based on the enthusiasm and based on the pandemic to a program that was in excess of $5 million. And if you've been listening to the Prime Minister, he has announced that he will give even more support to Prime this year.
Minister Gonsalves said the Prime Committee, which receives and evaluates applications and makes the recommendations on what should be approved along with the amount to be granted, have received over 3,500 applications.
The Prime Committee has received over 3,500 applications, which is mind-blowing.
Yes.
When you think that the labor force in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is probably about 50,000 people. Mm-hmm. And you're talking 6-7% of the entire workforce population applying for Prime grants, which is much larger than we anticipated when we started. But those applications, the committee has so far recommended for approval over 600 of those applications. And we anticipate that about 150 to 200 of those people will be notified in the coming week, because the committee just made its recommendations on Friday gone. So that last 150, 200 people would not have received any calls yet, but they'll be getting calls in the coming week.
The Minister of Finance further stated that the average value of Prime grants are about $6,500. Gonsalves reminded the public that the maximum grant is $40,000 and the minimum amount is $2,500. He also revealed that women make up about 60% of the recipients.
We're seeing a lot of still overwhelmingly young people, overwhelmingly women, applying for and receiving the grants. It's about 60-40 skewed in favor of women. And the leading areas you would find are in the agricultural space, agro-processing, food preparation, beauty supply, landscaping, auto repair, and then you have some others in the agricultural space, in the ICT, education, and services delivery. But it's very wide, the breadth of applications, and it's really interesting to see how many young people out there with very good marketable ideas who are really excited about the Prime program.
Meanwhile, the Center for Enterprise Development, the CED, is partnering with a number of regional agencies and organizations to provide opportunities for small business development in SVG. General Manager of the CED, Felix Lewis, said his organization is currently working with the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States, the OECS Secretariat, on an initiative to benefit local businesses. Mr. Lewis said the initiative is aimed at improving financial literacy in the small business sector. He further stated that the CED is also partnering with the United Nations Development Programme, the UNDP. This country's Prime Minister, Dr. The Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, is one of 8 speakers to address the first Caricom Impasse live virtual Caricom Security Conference, primarily focused on the challenges, impacts, and implications of the COVID-19 pandemic on the security of the Caribbean community. The virtual week-long event hosted by the Caricom Implementation Agency for Crime and Security is being held from today, Monday the 27th of July, to Friday the 31st of July 2020, and is convened under the overarching theme of securing our Caribbean community within the era of COVID-19 and beyond. The event commenced today, Monday, the 27th of July at 11 a.m. with a 1.5-hour high-level session titled Peace, Security and Development, a Roadmap for the Future in the Context of COVID-19. The highlight key session was titled A Conversation with Caricom Leaders on COVID-19 Response and the Way Forward. Apart from Prime Minister Gonsalves, other distinguished speakers of the conference include the Honorable Mia Mottley, Prime Minister of Barbados, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, the Right Honorable Alan Chastney, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, His Excellency Erwin Larocque, Secretary General of the Caribbean Community, Mr. Jurgen Stock, Secretary General of Interpol, Mr. Timothy Antwine, Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and Dr. Gail Rigobert, Minister of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development of St. Lucia. The conference includes 12 interactive webinars focusing on key security priorities such as peace, security and development, criminality and organized crime, policing in the time of a pandemic, cybersecurity, the future of borders, migration and mobility, climate change, corrections and prison services, the blue economy, maritime security, and building resilience in small island developing states, among others. The week's-long virtual conference can be viewed on VC3's Facebook page and Channel 114. Finally, in our local stories, the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Camilla Gonsalves, said that SVG's tourism product is set to receive a major boost with the opening of a Sandals Resorts International. Minister Gonsalves said the partnership is expected to have tremendous benefits for Vincentians, given the international appeal of the Sandals brand, noting that the project will also bring many benefits for various ancillary services. Following the signing ceremony last Wednesday for Sandals to officially take over the Bucoma Resort, Finance Minister Camilla Gonsalves, responding to what makes the new resort coming to SVG different from other Sandals hotels in the region, said the first distinguishing matter is that of the brand. The minister said the facilities in Grenada, Barbados and St. Lucia are all Sandals Hotel, whilst the brand in SVG will be a beaches hotel, which will cater to an entire family as opposed to couples.
Beaches is a family resort, and so it is going to be significantly different from the neighboring islands facilities because it's going to be very child-friendly. It's going to have a children's theme park. It's going to have a water park. There are partnerships with Sesame Street, so the Sesame Street characters will be doing performances there. There's a little train that's going to drive all around the facility that the children can ride on. There are areas where parents can leave the children and so essentially have them taken care of while the parents go and do something else more adult. So this is a family-oriented resort that's being built here, as opposed to a sort of young lovers resort, which is what the other Sandals will be.
Minister Gonsalves further stated that an entirely different demographic will be targeted first, and that will be to our benefit.
The Beaches Hotel and a family-oriented 5-star hotel hires more staff than does a couples-oriented hotel. Because, the couples, they're doing things that they don't require a lot of help to do.
That's true.
In their hotel room.
That's true.
But here you're going to have child minders. You're going to have actors to entertain the children. You're going to have additional lifeguards at the pools and the water parks and all of those things. So a beaches resort actually hires more people per room than does a Sandals resort. Even though they're offering the same quality of care, it's greater. And for our benefit, when someone books a hotel, books a vacation at Beaches St. Vincent, it's more likely that on average it's going to be 4 people or 5 people traveling on the plane to that vacation than when they book at a Sandals, when it will be 2 people traveling on the plane.
That's our local news stories. Next, regionally, former Barbados Prime Minister dies.